Are you dreading having to deal with your toxic family over the holidays? Well, the Narc Ninja is here to help.
The Narc Ninja, bringing you the tools and tactics to heal and deal with users and abusers. And now the Narc Ninja himself, Christopher Fairchild.
Hi, and welcome to the Narc Ninja channel, giving you real-life practical tools to heal and deal with those users and abusers from the perspective of an actual recovering abuse survivor. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, welcome back. Some abusive dysfunction is such a given part of our family cultures that, like many things in our lives, we can become sort of nose blind to them. Let's just say it's the emotional equivalent to being nose blind to that cat box only your visitors can smell. So much of this family stuff that takes those little chunks out of you has all the same contours of good old-fashioned covert narcissist abuse. I want to talk about this because I've never heard anyone else out there framing it quite like this. And yet, that's exactly what it is. It's also that sneaky, snarky shade that can only be thrown at you from those people who really know where all your buttons are. It's also that vaguely soul-killing crap that just comes with the territory in so many families. Like so much doggy-doo in the hallway, everyone's just learned to step around and never mention. You know what? Mom's always drunk by 11 on Thanksgiving mornings. Or, no, my dad never hugs me. I mean, it doesn't really bother me. Or, well, Uncle Chester always pats me on the butt and talks about how fit I am. I mean, yeah, it makes me uncomfortable, but, you know, like Mom says, he's completely harmless and, you know, he's just been really lonely since Aunt Helen died. Or maybe how you've just completely given up on ever mentioning something great that's happened in your life because you already know ahead of time that they're just going to take a little dig at you instead of really celebrating your win. Or not to bother mentioning that the boundary you've asked 100 times to be honored was once again ignored because that's all that ever happens. And if you say anything about their behavior, it's you that will be put on trial, never their behavior. I mean, you could say something about it, but you know damn well you're going to pay dearly for months or years to come. It's a very particular learned helplessness and a sad silent agreement you have to make with yourself sometimes before you even park your car and go in one more time into the invisible fire to take all the little hits like death from a million paper cuts and just push your feelings down and just cram some carbs on top of those feelings. Just smile that smile and pass the sweet potatoes. It's no big deal. It's just a little death, or la petite mort, as the French might say. And because it's the holidays, many of us reach for terrible coping strategies to just get through it. Did you know that 2/3 of drinkers overindulge and 1 in 5 report having all sorts of hangovers during the holidays? Yikes. So my goal in this video is to give you some kick-ass coping strategies for before, during, and after the toxic family event to not only save your brain cells and your liver, but your spirit too. I just mentioned that silent agreement you make before going into the fire, as it were, and our sort of default settings on that one are defeatist at best and more about enduring that familiar pain and discomfort than they are self-empowering, conscious, and proactive coping strategies. And that's why I'm here. So let's talk about the first step in the before, during, and after care plan. Today's video is about the before part. And before a fireman ever slides down that pole, they have prepared themselves for that fire. They have trained to have several different plans of action for different possible situations. They got suited up in that special heat and flame retardant gear and went into the burning building with confidence, with a confidence that only comes from knowing that they did the work and they are fully prepared. Thankfully, you are only responsible for your own emotional fires. One more time. You are only responsible for your own emotional fires. And if anyone else chooses to let their own emotional fire lead them to a meltdown and they decide to have a full-blown tantrum, then that's their problem. And no matter what they might say, it doesn't have one damn thing to do with you. Their fire is, in fact, none of your business. And it's certainly not your job to handle it. Their fire, not to mention, is also well above your pay grade. Many of the tools I'm going over today are also found in video 7 titled Help, I'm Stuck with a Narcissist, in my 10-part series called the Narc Ninja 101 Survival Guide, which is also a playlist on this channel. Also, helpful hint, videos 4 and 5 in that series will also help you just really load up with some de-escalating and neutralizing tactics and stock responses to offensive or inappropriate communications from aggressive people who have an empathy deficit in your family or the world abroad. Because I know there may be several times where I'm going to need to bite my tongue during this event to just keep the peace in the situation. One of the first things I like to do is make a plan with a trusted friend to have a phone call or short visit to decompress after the event. And I love knowing that I have that in my back pocket before even driving over there for the family holiday event. Another great thing to do beforehand is to have a meeting with yourself a day or so before the event to make some agreements that you promise to keep to and for yourself. You may even write some of these down and stick them in your pocket as a silent reminder while you're at the event. The first thing is to agree to just give up ever having that family member be who they should have been all along. They aren't, and they never will be. Being a student and practitioner of cognitive behavioral therapy, I can personally attest to the fact that expectation management is one of the most powerful tools to my personal peace and happiness. Is it fair that they seem to get away with their crap? No. Is it fair that I'm right and they're wrong and yet no one ever mentions that part? Hell to the no. Would standing on my ground change anything ever? No. Does agreeing to have a serenity prayer moment about the things I cannot change in the moment ultimately protect my priceless peace? Yes. In a wonderfully private way, you are refusing to ever be close enough to go there with them. You're making a private agreement with your sweet self that they don't even begin to matter enough to share your truth with. Radical acceptance and seeing them for who they truly are is the key to all of this. That, my friend, is your superpower and your secret win they will never, ever even know about. Embrace it, you Narc Ninja, you. Just think, later, you can celebrate the fact that you are just too damn healthy and strong to authentically relate to a maladaptive, narcissistic jackass. Another part of your agreement is to decide to just leave your authentic, beautiful, emotional, empathic, and your inner child self in the car. Only the people who've earned you get that really good stuff. The version you are sending into the fire is the mindful, healthy, detached, grounded, and emotionally neutral adult who can handle themselves when dealing with the emotional landmines of the unwell, emotional toddlers. Look, some of you may be going because this might be the last holiday you're ever going to have with an aging family member. It may also be because even though they are as toxic as a waste dump, they are your only family, and on some level you do love them. And you know what? That's okay. The fact that this stuff has several different complicated layers is part of why so many of us are so challenged by the holidays. Once I made a game of it with an extended family member whose politics were so terrible. But I pulled him aside early on and said, hey, can we just call a truce on all this politics stuff just for today so we can both really enjoy ourselves? And I said, how about we both agree whenever one of us wants to bring up politics, instead we have to give the other one a compliment. They agreed. Of course, it was barely 10 a.m. and they had already started drinking. In hindsight, that may have happened to be part of why they agreed. Nevertheless, we both had to give each other several compliments, and it became sort of a hilarious secret code we had going. And not only did we end up enjoying ourselves, but we sort of, using the term very lightly here, bonded just a bit. Lastly, I want to say something about how abusive people in our lives can pull us out of alignment with our own personal integrity. And it's usually because we're having a reactive versus a responsive moment. It could be that we just hit a wall and we have just had enough of their crap and we just let her rip and we end up saying things that we will regret ever saying. It could be just that we drink or vape our way through the holiday again because self-medicating is the only coping strategy everyone else in our family uses. In both cases, not only have you been subjected to that expected dysfunctional soup of emotional energy your family always serves, but you have let yourself down in the process. And my hope is that you do have that meeting with yourself before the event and make a promise to your sweet self that this year you are refusing to let yourself down by allowing anyone else's thoughtless, unkind, or bad behavior change who you have chosen to be. Don't let their ugliness stop your spirit from being beautiful. Shine your light because of who you are, not because of who they choose to behave like in this temporary experience. Like my mom used to say, no matter how ugly it gets out there, Christopher, you can always just outclass the room. I hope this was helpful. If so, please consider subscribing to this channel and doing all those other YouTube things to help grow this thing called the Narc Ninja. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Do shine bright and always, always be you to the full. Namaste.